Final Fantasy XIV is a game that is constantly bombarded with praise, and to a certain extent, not praising every single aspect of it is almost taboo. But even though it is widely considered to be one of the best MMORPGs in recent memory, there are those that simply do not enjoy the game or just downright hate it, and for whatever reason feel it is their duty to leave a negative review on Metacritic of all places. One day I grew curious as to what exactly was being said in these negative reviews and decided to record as I took a look. And boy oh boy, what I found was a mixed bag. In these reviews was everything from valid criticism of the game, people simply not enjoying it, to downright hilarious and utterly ridiculous reviews that would leave anyone who plays the game regularly both scratching their head and laughing aloud. In this video we go through some of those reviews version by version and expansion by expansion of the game, all the way from ARR to Shadowbringers. 1.0 is excluded because that's a different beast altogether. So without further ado, my name's Lokidum, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So, Yoshi P apparently really didn't like his game. He gave it a 0 out of 10 and said, "I give up," after trying to log in for 2 to 3 hours of spamming the login the past week. Just avoid this game. People who are in the game refuse to log out because they know it's impossible to get it past the character screen. Wow. Yoshi P saw these problems and didn't bother to change it. Let's see this guy's reviews. He only gave... Yoshi P only left one review. And it was to leave a 0.0 on his own game, Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. Wow. What the hell, Yoshi P? Who, if you're gonna shit on the game, adopts the name of the game's director? Like, what? Oh, this is interesting. Jimmy Cricket with a 4 out of 10 on November 30th of 2015. I am completely bewildered as to why this game is getting such a positive rap. Laggy servers, terrible, boring, and monotonous questline, extremely poor UI, all add up to make this feel like a title from 2005, if not for the impressive graphics engine. Even so, I'd much rather be playing vanilla WoW, because it was a much smoother game experience, even 10 years ago in comparison to this. So this guy just wanted vanilla WoW. He's like, it's not vanilla WoW. Nothing will ever beat vanilla WoW. Why can't this game be vanilla WoW? Alas, this game does not come close to being a WoW killer. Why does everything have to be a WoW killer? And shows no sign of ever being one. Do yourself a favor. Don't bother. Where's vanilla WoW? Blizzard, why'd you take away my vanilla WoW? Jab, why'd you take my vanilla WoW? And why isn't this Japanese game vanilla WoW? Disgusting. That's effectively what it sounds like. June 15th, 2015. Grim Stabberson leaves Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn a 1 out of 10. This game is the final nail in the coffin for my love of the Final Fantasy series. FF14 is a huge pain in the butt to even get started as a monthly subscription on top of the game's initial price tag, because that's totally not like every other MMO that was popular during this time period and before. It is largely a chore to play, and is designed more to eat up time more than actually have fun. FF14 is chock full of mindless fetch quests that have you delivering trivial items like tea leaves from NPC A to NPC B. In typical MMORPG format, you will run the same dungeons and kill the same mobs for endless hours to drop in levels. Again, most of this game is designed purely to eat up time doing menial tasks repeatedly to keep you subscribing for months to make progress. This game is like, this game that was heralded for not wasting your time. How dare it waste my time? And how dare it be an MMO? What the fuck? My main purpose for writing this bad review, however, is to warn about the ungodly amount of spam it has. The spam here is worse than anything I've ever seen in a game, including free-to-play games. On many servers, it is so unbearable that people either have to use third-party tools to block some of it, which is against the TOS, or simply turn off the personal chat function. The whole freaking point of an MMO is to interact with other players, but many people struggle doing that due to the spam messages we are constantly bombarded with. The report spam function in this game is basically non-existent, and most players don't even know how to do this. Square Enix basically expects you to stop what you were doing, log into their website, fill out a form for each spam message, and send it over to their special task force, which is basically 3 employees for all of North America. What makes this even more ludicrous is that we sometimes get a dozen or more of these spam messages from various characters with names like every few minutes. This has been a problem with them for the last 2 years, and it really hasn't gotten any better. Basically, they just don't care. It's totally unacceptable. Anyone that says this isn't a problem is either in a locked server that's hard to get an account on for bots and players alike, or on a Japanese server, which Square Enix seems to actually give a damn about. NA/EU servers as a whole are completely spammed into oblivion, and the developers just don't care. As a US player, I personally take this as a slap in the face. As an added bonus, a large part of this game's community consists of elitist metrosexual douchebags. The fuck is this supposed to mean? Sure, there are nice people that play, but expect the obnoxious ones to drown them out. If you're new to a dungeon and endgame, there's a very large possibility you will be insulted non-stop and possibly kicked out of the party. Well, that's extremely different from today, if that was true. You can expect rudeness and petty arguments in nearly every raid. This community is so toxic that, if understanding people like me trying to explain the mechanics of a dungeon to new people, even I get hate for taking the time to do so. The mentality boils down to, go, 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 you suck, noob! Did this guy mean to review WoW while writing this? Of course, when they inevitably wipe due to this attitude, they rage quit. This might not sound as so bad on its own, but often there is an hour wait to just get into a dungeon. If you like being trolled by metrosexual, half-naked catmen and spammed non-stop by bots trying to sell you game money for real money, then this game is for you. If you want to make friends to go on an exciting and engaging adventure with, however, look elsewhere. Wow. A 1 out of 10 from Fuzzy Bunny 075. The 2.x series, or ARR, were decent, but there were a lot of problems with it that they were just unwilling to fix and not listen to their player base. Now, with Heavensward at this point, we are in the last cycle of the expansion. The game has gone from bad to worse. Yoshi P and his dev squad ruined the community and are bleeding subs. Most servers are a wasteland at this point. Basically, everything released in Heavensward has been very poorly implemented, to say the least. Yoshi P ruined the community and they are bleeding subs. So let's see how that translates to players, because Square Enix doesn't actually release their financial reports. Let's take a look at 2016, why don't we? This person left a review on October 9th of 2016, alright. October 9th of 2016. Wasn't that bad at all. This was no big deal. They weren't bleeding subs, they went up in players. What the fuck? They haven't been bleeding subs. That's just inaccurate. They weren't, anyway. I think the thing of them saying, like, the majority of the player, they've ruined the community and they're bleeding subs, I think this person just had a fallout with their FC or something. The only thing that hasn't changed is them not listening to the majority of their player base. This is also why they are bleeding subs. Everything they do and try to fix, it ends up making it even worse. I've played since early access in 2.0, and I have personally seen the things that they destroyed and just refused to change for the better. At this point, they're putting all their hopes into the new expansion, with total remakes of the classes, but it won't help IMO. The damage they have done to the player base is so big, at this point Square Enix has got to look at what Yoshi P and his dev team have accomplished and take actions, but they won't. For most of us, it's too late and are just waiting until sub runs out, so more people will leave, so it's going to get even worse. That's not even close to accurate when actually looking at the numbers available. What was this dude huffing? Nightlistic, with a 0 out of 10, says, why Square Enix thought it would be a brilliant idea to lock the entire expansion behind a year's worth of content before players like myself who left after running out of things to do in the vanilla game is beyond me. I completely wasted my money buying this DLC, as I never even reached Heavensward because of burning out waiting 2 to 3 hours in queue for the blasted dungeons that they are so annoying force onto the player by locking the storyline's progression behind them. Simple, too much effort to reach the new expansion. the new content to be worth the money I spent. I keep the game as a reminder to never buy another one of this franchise's expansions ever again. Let's see if this guy ever said anything again about FF14 on Metacritic. Wow. So he got mad in March of 2016, and he bought another Final Fantasy game in May of 2016, to which he also gave a 0. And he said, I really loved FF A Realm Reborn, but this game is just a nightmare for anyone who doesn't have super limb fingers. It's Final Fantasy Explorers on the 3DS! No shit, it's not like A Realm Reborn. It's FFE! What the fuck? Wow, okay. So, he went from, I'm never gonna buy a game in this expansion again to, in this series again to, Final Fantasy Explorers wasn't like A Realm Reborn. Why the fuck? What the fuck? I watched the trailer and played. However, it was not possible to reproduce the same movement as seen in the trailer in the game. Like, almost because it's a CGI trailer. Moreover, it is extremely difficult to know what kind of motion your character is doing due to the game design that you cannot see the battle situation unless you pull the camera so that the player is not visible in battle. What the fuck? English. Also, even though the game is complete, the equipment gained through its efforts will be easily available in a few months. That's how MMOs work. The latest endgame content is good to play with the intention of competition, but if you do not intend to do so, it may be a waste of time. However, I do not think that it will be recognized as esports even if I play for the game. What? What's with the idea that everything has to become an esport? Like, I don't get it. It's like, oh, well, you see, competitive shitting is not an esport yet. I can't believe it. The places where the cityscape, field, and dungeons are easy to see are made in such a way as to make the graphic look beautiful, but if you look closely, you'll often find they use rough textures. The story might just be out of my favor. War is the subject. In the case of war, it is natural to think the fellow may die, and I think that is a natural judgment to protect the fellow. However, this game does not seem to think that way. Although I defeat an enemy commander who has a lot of war situations and information, I can escape without getting prisoners and killing without hearing information, and there are many alternatives. But I am in vain. There are too many actions based on unreasonable judgments or actions that only seem to be in the choice of strategy. In addition, it is unnaturally felt and cannot be helped because it is a way of speaking that would not normally be the same amount of text as if the text was read out loud as it is while the voice was attached to the character. Oh my god, that's a sentence. Even in battle, he speaks long lines in a unnatural tone to the leader, so he feels even worse. The character's motion is also quite beautiful in the trailer, but in the game it's only rough. The motion in the story's event scene felt really bad. In addition, this game is a Final Fantasy series, or often city settings, stories, etc., from previous works of the Final Fantasy series. There are many other things I've seen in movies and other games that have been incorporated into the story and settings, but because of these citations and inclusions, I have made it as a Final Fantasy XIV. What? I can not feel the originality. It feels like I should invest time into more originality games. The point I thought was good was that I enjoyed the fun of just starting a new game. I cannot recommend this game to others. This was a 2 out of 10 by NewVM114514. That hurt my brain to read. A 0 out of 10 from Ulkin Politz. Bad combat system. Not enough graphics. Not enough graphics. Oh no, I can't see the game. It's just a black screen. Is that what that means? Not story. I'm who loves story, but the what? Not story. I'm who loves story in the game, but this game didn't have any story. I hate. What the fuck did I just read? Well, I see the accent over the I, so this ain't this guy's first language, but what the fuck? I think it just means he doesn't like the graphics, bad combat system. That one's pretty clear. Don't agree with it, but okay. And then he said, Bad story. He loves stories in the game, but he doesn't like this game's story. That is my best translation to gibberish. A 2 out of 10 from Miriam W. That apparently contains spoilers. The expansion that ruined the game, Shadowbringers. The remake was fine. An MMORPG that worked. Gameplay, story, and so on. Enough content. The first expansion was better. Especially in story that took you more in. More content, some fresh ideas. Some not so good ones, but it was okay. The third one, Stormblood, started the downfall. Wait. Shadowbringers is the third one. Sorry, I misread. Huh? The expansion that ruined the game. Also, this is what started the downfall. What? I think they meant Stormblood. The third one started the downfall. Or Stormblood started the downfall. Content got lesser and worse, and the story took a bad turn. I presume. Starting a full-out war, an invasion, but making it feel and look like it raiding a bandit camp. But even that was harmless in comparison to Shadowbringers. Content got even less, close to zero. If you don't care for raiding, which is always the same, an extremely scripted fight that you have to learn the dodge dance for. But what killed it the most for me was the terrible bad writing. What? Ah yes, Shadowbringers, bad writing, totally. It's one thing when characters are shallow and one-dimensional, when none of them ever shows any kind of development. Huh? They do show development, though. It's an MMORPG. No need for Shakespeare or whatever. What? So this guy's calling it bad writing and then comparing it to Shakespeare. Huh? Now I'm just confused. It's fine that you as the player will of course in the end always succeed somehow, since your death would end the game. That is something you have to work around as a writer, and many do that okay or even well. Not FF14. FF14 is so utterly bland that this plot armor is obviously known to all your allies that you can't die and will win for sure. It's just the main plan of everything. Something that could destroy you and your whole world appears. The reaction of all of your allies is that they have to clean up this like they did the dishes after food. And then the story bends around them to make just that true. That's just so wrong on fundamentally so many levels. It would take an hour to break this down alone. Like if the Warrior of Light is their only recourse to try and solve things, of course they're going to point the Warrior of Light like a gun at it and say, listen, you don't fix this, we're fucked. Do it. It's not necessary to murder NPCs at all ends, but FF14 comes up with some war and end time scenarios and then you just solve it like your homework. I mean, people do die and it happens quite a bit. Even worse, they sell this as normal. Heavy spoiler. The background of this game is that there was once a real planet with its inhabitants. Someone tried to murder them all, so a big part of them used their own life force to summon a soul for the planet that it can defend itself and them. Technically true, but not quite. This worked. Since the planet was already ruined, more people gave this soul to their life to revive the planet. This also worked. But then when life was back and able to recover, a very small minority summoned a weapon that, intended or not, shattered the soul, killing the planet and all inhabitants on it. Huh? That's not right at all. Life wasn't thriving, and it was requiring constant sacrifices. Zodiark was. So, a small minority that summoned a weapon, in this case, I guess he's talking about Hydaelyn, that minority that summoned Hydaelyn wished to put an end to Zodiark and an end to the constant sacrifices. So, this guy just sounds like he's being Emmett Selk and like, ugh, I'm right. Zodiark did nothing wrong. Through this, the planet was cut into pieces, just as all life which now exists on these pieces, driven by greed, hate, violence, because abominations of what life once was. And this is sold as good as and right. This just sounds like an Asian-style speech at this point. Though the planet was cut into pieces, just as all life which now exists on these pieces, driven by greed, hate, violence, because abominations of what life was. So, in other words, a normal everyday thing where events are shaped by people who are involved in them, And these people can be hateful and hate others. They can be greedy and they can be violent. As opposed to the Ascians' unfiltered paradise, which we don't really know if it was actually an unfiltered paradise. For all we know, they could have fought some brutal civil war like 100 years back that killed 90% of their population. Like, we don't know all that much in the grand scheme of things. And this guy's like, ugh, how dare this normal world with real and well, not believable, but events grounded in some semblance of reality. How dare they be like this? Not in my fantasy game. The fuck is this dude on? The player character, meanwhile, is not even one of these abominations. Of these rape... I can't be reading this right. I can't be reading this right. There's no way he called them raped soul fragments. There's no way.
Raped.
Oh my god, he did. Of these raped soul fragments, but directly linked to the original inhabitants, and so immensely powerful that nothing can stand against him or her, while for some reason stoically serving the summoned weapon to make sure its genocide will not be undone. This dude's just a fucking Ascian. Like, Miriam W is, I think, just a member of the convocation at this point. What the fuck? So this guy, this just sounds like what some contrarian would say. Wow. Because that's what the bad guys want. They want to heal the planet and return all life to its original unshattered form. Yeah, by killing every single life across 13 worlds in order to... No, 14 worlds, actually. In order to merge them all into one, taking the consciousness away from uncountable people. Oh my god. This is sold as evil in the game. Yes, because it's literal genocide. If you actually looked into the game and looked at the way it was and looked at the way that these lives have carried on, you'd realize the Ascians just represent people who were stuck in the past the way they wanted things to be, and the Sundering was the world's second chance at life. And even though it's mortal, the people are allowed to continue on and live fulfilling or unfulfilling, just lives in general, over and over again, unknowing of their past. They get to live a normal life over and over and over again, in a world that each new generation and each new reincarnation is a chance to change. Is this guy just stupid? Like in the Wolfenstein, the Nazis are the good guys because they have won and the world is theirs now, while those fighting against them are bad since they don't accept this new... Did he just compare the Sundering and Hydaelyn to fucking Hitler? Oh my god, he did. What the fuck? So not only is this guy off his rocker already, but then he goes and compares the main characters of FF14 and Hydaelyn and the actions of Sundering the worlds. He compares it to fucking Hitler and the Nazis. Oh my god. That is just mind-numbing. Meanwhile, the other plot revolves around a more normal war is going on. And of course, war is easy and fun and murder is good. You just have to murder for the right side. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's like, war, bad. Yeah, that's the whole point. They're trying to put an end to the war. The player character side is made out of depot despots. What? And the story is full of sick atrocities, abusing civilians, other nations, mass killing of civilians for military purposes, plans that risk the life of thousands, if not 10,000 of innocent people, spreading of chaos, and death on the CIA level as distraction. So now he's bringing the CIA into it. So he's comparing the main character's actions and the actions around the world in, you know, a time of war. He's like, yeah, it's the fucking CIA. What the fuck? Sounds interesting. No, a good side that acts as bad? Are you calling the Garleans good? Problem is, the game got no problem with it. What? Whenever something bad happens, it addresses it as such and talks about how they want to work against it. Oh my god. All of this is just fine and heroic in the game. Is this guy playing some secret build where he's a Garlean or something? And the other side, by the way, a giant high-tech empire with an army at least on the level of a modern USA. He's bringing the fucking USA into it now. Oh my god. Is simply stomped all the time by something around the size of maybe Luxembourg. That's not even accurate. Let's pull up an FF14 world map, why don't we? What the fuck? So you see, if we pull up the three great continents, once we find this here, where is it? Here, okay. That's shit. That is really shit. Okay, open image in new tab. Alright, so let's just take a look at this. The Garlean Empire is roughly this area, because all of Ilzabard is basically under their control now. So against them, we have this continent. This archipelago is kind of, you know, neutral. Yes. 2 continents versus 1. Definitely Luxembourg versus the USA. Fucking retard. My god. War is good and easy. Murder is fine. Genocide is right. As long as you stand on the right side of it. I mean, just look at real world history and you'll kind of see a pattern. Oh, and if you fight against the people who are 10,000 years old, masterminds who have already steered the fate of nations and worlds all the time and got all means to kill you in millions of ways, no fear, they will just go to you, stand in front of you, and let them beat you to death. And let them beat you to death. What? What will also make them think what a wonderful person you are and that you were right from the start. So fascism is a good thing now? What the fuck?
First, like, they're justifying genocide. Modern day USA, bad. Luxembourg versus USA, CIA, Nazis.
And now he's like, oh, this is just fascism. What the fuck? By the way, the community is one of the most toxic I've ever seen. If you're going around calling shit fascist and Nazis, they better be toxic to you to get Scourge like you out. Simply because they also think they are much better than others, while pretty much, like the NPC, are just full of themselves. Snowflakes by all the bad meaning of the word. Oh, God. What's the bet that this guy, doesn't believe in the vaccine? I'd bet it's pretty high. You better never say anything bad against their game, or just asking a question, because they will hate for that. Oh, my fucking God. This is just mind-numbing. Mind-numbing. And he gave it a what? A 2. My God.